Hi, I'm Paul, and welcome to tip 1 of our speech quality course. Be careful with syllable stress. What is syllable stress? A syllable is a group of sounds in a word. It's kind of like beats in music. Each syllable usually has at least one vowel. For example, international has 5 syllables. It helps to clap when we say the word to find the syllables. For example, international. It has 5 syllables. So maybe you already know about syllables. Why are they important for learners? Well, there's this thing called syllable stress. In English, syllables in a word can be stressed differently. Now, this can be different from some other languages. Maybe this doesn't happen in your first language. In English, each word has a primary stress. This is one syllable that has more stress than the other syllables. For example, in international, the na syllable or third syllable is the primary stress. The primary stress works together with the sounds of a word to communicate its meaning. In longer speech, primary stress also helps to create the natural rhythm of English. Look at this word. I want you to say it to yourself. What do you think it means? Well, it depends on where you put the primary stress. If you put the primary stress on the first syllable, it's content, which is the things in something. For example, the things, the information in a website or a magazine. If you put the primary stress on the second syllable, it becomes content, which means to be happy or satisfied. So the position of the primary stress can sometimes change the meaning of a word. Here are some more examples. Present, with primary stress on the first syllable, is a gift. Present, on the second syllable, is to do a presentation or a talk to a group of people. Desert, on the first syllable, is this hot, dry place, whereas dessert, on the second syllable, is something we eat after dinner. Address is the place where we live. Address means to give a formal talk to a group of people. I should add that in this word, the primary stress is always on the second syllable in British English. So as you can see, even with words that have pretty much the same spelling and same pronunciation of the sounds, the meaning can completely change with the primary stress position changing. So how can we find the primary stress in a word? Well, the best place to check is in a dictionary. Just look for this sort of raised bar symbol here. So if we check the word laptop, if it's a good dictionary, it'll show you the pronunciation near the word. Go to the pronunciation symbols and look for the raised bar. This will tell you where the primary stress is. So in laptop, it tells us it's on the first syllable, laptop. If we check the word international in a dictionary, the pronunciation is here, and the primary stress symbol is here. It tells us it's on the na syllable, international. You might be wondering what this lower bar here is. Well, this is a secondary stress. The secondary stress syllable is also stressed, but not as much as the primary stress. So how do we make the primary stress? Be careful. Primary stress doesn't mean the syllable is said more loudly or more strongly. It has a clearer and longer vowel sound. and it also has a slightly higher pitch. Look at this word. So here the primary stress is on the first syllable. Listen to the eh vowel sound and the pitch when I say it. Present. Present. Here, with international, it's on the NA syllable. Listen to the A syllable and the slightly higher pitch. International. International. So it's important to put focus on the primary stress syllable, but be careful not to change your volume or make the pitch change too high. Let's go back to international, and I'll say it with the NA syllable a higher or louder volume. International. It sounds strange, doesn't it? It almost sounds like I'm angry. Now I'll say it with a pitch that's too high. International. It sounds strange, doesn't it? It almost sounds like somebody's pinching me. So how can we predict primary stress? Well, there are ways we can guess the primary stress without using a dictionary. First, two-syllable nouns usually have first syllable stress. In fact, around 90% of them do. For example, person, global. Two-word nouns or compounds usually have the primary stress on the first word. Cell phone, baseball player. Two-syllable verbs, on the other hand, usually have second syllable stress. Around 60% of them do. For example, produce, return. Two-word verbs usually have primary stress on the second word. Look up, go out. One pattern we sometimes find with two-syllable words is that with the primary stress changing, the meaning stays the same, but it changes from a noun to a verb. For example, increase, which is a noun, and increase, which is a verb. With acronyms, the final letter is usually stressed. ATM, DNA, RSVP. We can also use suffixes to guess the primary stress in a word. Do you know what suffixes are? Although the endings we often find on longer words, here are some examples of suffixes. With these suffixes, they tell us that the primary stress is usually on the syllable before the suffix. For example, location, personality, allergic, historical. With these suffixes, the suffix itself is usually stressed. For example, Japanese, employee, engineer. With the suffix ate, we usually find the primary stress two syllables before the suffix. For example, communicate, graduate. There are other suffixes that can change the primary stress, and also some suffixes have no effect on the primary stress. So these are just some tips that can help you guess the primary stress in words. So what can we conclude about the key points for syllable stress today? Well, it's good to know the primary stress for your words. Now, you don't have to know the primary stress for all the words you know, but it's good to know them for longer words that you use often in your work or study. Or maybe longer words that you find difficult to pronounce the sounds with. So primary stress works with the pronunciation of the sounds in a word to help communicate the meaning. Sometimes, even if you get the pronunciation of the sounds wrong in a word, if you can get the primary stress right, you can communicate its meaning. On the other hand, like we looked at before, even if you get the pronunciation of the sounds perfect in a word, if you get the primary stress wrong, it can completely change its meaning. Primary stress also works over longer speech to create this natural kind of rhythm in English that the listener will be expecting. We'll talk more about this in focus words in tip 6. Here's something you can practice at home. List 5 to 10 problem words. Now, these should be longer words that you have trouble pronouncing the sounds with. Then check their primary stress and practice saying them. Sometimes it helps you tap your hand where the primary stress is to help you remember it. For example, international, present. If you still have trouble pronouncing the full word, try breaking it into syllables and practicing before practicing saying it as one word. Next week, I'm going to talk about some sounds in English that learners often have problems with, and I'm going to give you some ideas on how you can improve them. For more ideas and tips on language learning and teaching, please check out my website, paulmaka.com. On my website, you can also find information about courses, online Zoom courses I'll be starting on Sundays from April. See you next week.